Let's dive right in. So, we spend our lives walking, running, sometimes falling, and barely think about what's holding us up. But right under our skin, bone cells are basically working around the clock. Today, we're zeroing in on two MVPs, osteoblasts and osteoclasts. You've watched some videos. What stuck with you about these cells?
Honestly, what blew my mind is how balanced their relationship needs to be. I pictured osteoblasts as the construction crew, always building, while osteoclasts are the demolition team. Too much from either side, and the whole structure of the bone gets messed up.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing renovation project in our bodies. The idea that our skeleton is being constantly torn down and rebuilt is just wild. Did you remember anything about where these cells come from?
So, osteoclasts actually come from immune cells, macrophages to be exact. That surprised me since I always thought bone cells had nothing to do with the immune system. Osteoblasts, though, develop from stem cells in the bone itself.
It's wild that immune cells, cells that usually fight off germs, join forces and fuse together to become these giant, multinucleated osteoclasts. And meanwhile, osteoblasts stay single-nucleated, forming neat lines along the bone. It's kind of poetic, right?
Yeah, there's this weird teamwork vibe, but also some rivalry. What's cool is that macrophage origins mean osteoclasts are sort of like bone's internal cleanup crew, ready to jump into action if there's damage.
So, speaking of teamwork, imagine you get a tiny crack in your bone. These cells leap into action. Can you walk us through that process?
Sure, when there's a microcrack, osteoclasts rush in first and basically dissolve that damaged bone using acids and enzymes. Then, osteoblasts arrive to build fresh bone in its place. It's like a tag team repair squad.
I love the idea that our bones are in a constant cycle of demo and rebuild. Not to mention, our entire skeleton is pretty much swapped out every decade or so. That's a complete makeover on autopilot.
Totally. But what happens when this process gets out of whack? That's where osteoporosis comes in. If osteoclasts start winning the tug of war, bone is lost faster than it's built. Suddenly, bones become fragile.
And that's a huge problem, especially for older folks or astronauts coming back from space. Bones lose density and snap easily. I actually have family members who've broken a bone just by standing up. It's heartbreaking.
That's so tough. What's even scarier is that men with diabetes are at higher risk, and women after menopause because of hormone changes. It affects millions and can really sneak up on people.
Funny you mention astronauts. Did you know NASA basically started biomedical engineering because of these bone issues? Without gravity, the body thinks, why keep all this heavy bone? And starts breaking it down.
That's why exercise is so crucial. Loading bones through activities like running or lifting weights tells osteoblasts to kick into high gear and build more bone. It's like bones need to feel useful, or they literally start disappearing.
Exactly. And if you slack off, spend too much time in bed, or just don't move much, osteoclasts take over and bones shrink. No wonder staying active is drilled into us from such a young age.
Jumping off that, what fascinates me is how bone cells actually sense stress. They have these special mechanotransduction receptors that pick up on changes, stretching, compression, all of it.
Yeah! The cells aren't just floating in liquid, they're embedded in a matrix, which gets tugged and squeezed as we move. When those receptors detect stress, osteoblasts know it's time to get building.
But if there's no signal, no movement, osteoclasts think, guess we don't need this bone, and start breaking it down. It's like a feedback loop, completely tied to how we use our bodies.
That ties right into Wolff's Law, which basically says our bones grow and remodel based on the stress we put them through. So if you're lifting heavy, your bones adapt and get stronger.
That's true, but there's a catch. Too much metal in joint replacements can cause stress-shielding bones around the implant actually weaken because the metal absorbs all the force. The body just dissolves what it isn't using.
It's a tricky problem for engineers. If you make the hardware too strong, you end up weakening the real bone. There's this constant dance between biology and technology.
Speaking of breaks, not all fractures are created equal. The way a bone breaks, whether it's spiral, transverse, or oblique, can actually tell us about the health of the bone.
Exactly. A clean spiral fracture often means healthy, strong bone, but a straight transverse fracture? That's usually a red flag for bone weakness, like in osteoporosis.
And with kids, you get green stick fractures, bones bending and cracking. but not snapping clean through. It's a whole spectrum, and understanding these patterns helps both doctors and engineers design better repairs.
So once a bone breaks, it's up to us, and by us, I mean engineers and surgeons, to fix it. Plates and screws are the go-to, but material choice is everything.
Right. You can't use the same setup for everyone. Softer, osteoporotic bone needs special screws with more threads and sometimes magnesium plates that the body can absorb over time. Titanium is still popular, but we're moving towards smarter materials.
And geometry matters too. It's all about attaching things just right, so you don't crush the periosteum, or outer bone layer, which is packed with stem cells for healing.
You know what else gets overlooked? Bones actually heal differently depending on where and how they break. Long bones use endochondral ossification, which builds a cartilage sphere around the break before turning it into bone.
That's right. But flat bones, like the skull, heal through intramembranous ossification, no sphere, just direct bone repair. Since swelling there would put pressure on the brain, the body adapts its strategy to each situation.
And knowing which process is happening can help engineers design the right fix, so we're not just patching bones, we're actually supporting natural healing.
Let's circle back to osteoporosis. Prevention is a big deal, so what actually works?
Regular weight-bearing exercise is key, especially early in life. It's like investing in your future skeleton. Hormone therapy, calcium, vitamin D, and avoiding smoking or excess caffeine all help too.
But it's not one size fits all. If someone has a hormone imbalance, even exercise might not be enough. So it's important to figure out the root cause before jumping to treatment.
That gets me thinking, what about new tech? There's talk of using ultrasound to stimulate bone growth. Do you see that catching on?
I do. It's exciting. Using mechanical vibration, like ultrasound, to boost osteoblast activity could help heal bones faster or even prevent osteoporosis. Biomedical engineers are really at the front lines of this innovation.
It's awesome to realize how much biology, medicine, and engineering are crossing paths. The more we understand about bone cells and their environment, the better solutions we can create.